Hello, this is Rufus J. Faulk, who is running for Boston City Council District 7. We're here to ask him two questions on Boston Public Schools. So the first question is, what do you believe is the current state of the Boston Public Schools? A, what grade would you give it now? And B, what grade would you give them when Marty Walsh started 4 years ago?
First of all, thank you for having me. I speak as a former Boston Public School student, and I think it's important to realize before we start giving out grades, you have to also be aware that we have 125 schools, we have over 58,000 students, and one of the realities of BPS, which was one of the realities when I was a student, your grade will be largely dependent on the school you attend, and oftentimes um, your interaction with the teachers. So it's going to be such a fluctuating grade scale. But I think we all can agree that we're at a point in our Boston Public School system where we view that it needs improvement. But I think it's important to also realize that it has tremendous potential. We have great students. We have students who have an enormous potential themselves, and we have teachers who dedicate themselves to ensuring that they're preparing our young people to not only matriculate through BPS, but also go into the workforce and going to higher education. I think the failure on us is we're leaving the education of our children strictly to BPS, where it should be a citywide initiative, where all of our city agencies, all of our city services, all of our communities are fully invested in ensuring that our young people are being prepared to be productive adults. And I think as a community, as a city, we're failing in that respect. But I believe our public school system is at a place where it needs improvement. And that would be the same case 4 years ago, today, and when I was a student 20 plus years ago. So we're at a place where we have enormous potential, but we need to be a more inclusive approach towards education. We cannot leave it strictly to our school system or to our teachers. Our teachers are trying to be educators while also having to be case managers and having to be oftentimes clinical therapists and support systems for our students. And we're leaving them to have to bear that brunt by themselves. So it needs to be more inclusive. Um, just in terms of being a Boston Public School student, I remember how my experience within the school largely dictated between the school I was attending. So lucky for me, I was able to test in some of our better programs, whether it be advanced work class for 4th and 5th grade or go to an exam school for 7th grade at Boston Latin Academy. But I had friends who were just as smart as me, smarter, more charismatic, who may not have tested as well, and then were sent to other schools that didn't have the same level of rigorous curricula that would prepare them for high school and then prepare them for college and enter into the job market. So until we get to the point where all of our high schools are at the standard of Boston Latin, I think we're always going to be at a point of need improvement. So that should be our goal, to ensure that a student who receives an education at the Jeremiah E. Burke is receiving the same education that a student receives at Boston Latin School. And that's what I'm trying to fight for, ensuring that the access and the quality of education that our students are receiving is more uniform, but also realizing that each student has an individual learning style and ensuring that we're catering to that as well, because we have so much potential here, but I see so many young people who aren't fulfilling their potential because they haven't been given the access and haven't been given the pipeline to successful adulthood. So that's why I believe that we're at as a city. We have to do a better job at being more collaborative around education. We realize that there's so much that goes into education outside of the classroom. How are we preparing our young people to not only be working professionals, but how are we supporting them socially and emotionally? I remember visiting the Trotter Elementary, and this is after there was an unfortunate event that happened in the vicinity with the shooting, and a lot of these students who go to the Trotter had to view the yellow caution tape. Some heard the gunshots, and then asked to go into our classrooms and then be able to perform academically when they're still dealing with trauma on top of the trauma that they're already dealing with growing up in some of the neighborhoods that we grew up in. I'm born and raised in Roxbury, and I remember having to deal with issues outside of the classroom that impacted my work in the classroom, and oftentimes impacted my behavior within the classroom. So we need to make sure that we're supporting our students socially and emotionally, ensure that we're supporting our teachers, um, leaving it up to them alone to educate our young people, our students, is a failure on our part. So we have to make sure that everyone involved in the city, all the industries within the city, are taking a part in this education process.
All right, thank you. So moving on to the second question. What specifically are you going to do to improve them? A, how many schools are you going to visit? B, what programs would you add or subtract? And C, how much more money, if any, do you think the schools need?
Okay, very good question. So again, like I said, we have 125 schools, and I am blessed to have been able to visit over 75 of those schools, having been doing the work within the community for the last 12 years, oftentimes visiting places like the Barron Center, visiting places like McKinley, Community Academy, doing a sneaker drive at the Higginson Lewis, which was something that was done to sort of address some of the outside of classroom issues that some of our students were having. Not having the finances to have a pair of sneakers. Oftentimes, some of our young people would be ridiculed for the sneakers that they were having, or sneakers that they were wearing, or their parents couldn't afford to give some of their children new sneakers for the school year, and being able to get donations from former students to gather sneakers for our young people, which may seem like a small thing, but if it's one obstacle that we can remove from students that can make their academic journey a little bit easier, that's something that I try to do. Whether it's doing Dr. Seuss Day at the Trotter and reading with some of our best and brightest. So I've had the opportunity over the last 12 years as a professional to visit a lot of our schools, doing college fairs. I am a part of Temple University's advisory alumni council. So one of my main roles is to try to increase access to higher education. So I do a lot of college fairs, and I'm able to see a lot of BPS students and try to explain to them that just like you, I was a Boston Public School student. I went to the King Middle School. I went to Latin Academy, and and like some of our young people, I wasn't able to finish at Latin Academy because I didn't receive the social and emotional supports necessary. So I had to go an alternative route to finish high school. And even still, I was able to go to Temple University, then go to Boston University, and now I'm working on my doctorate now at Northeastern. But I'm a kid who walked the same streets that they have. So I try to explain to them that their current situation doesn't have to dictate where they go in the future. And I think we have to do a better job at showing our young people that it's possible to achieve. And as adults, we have to make sure that we're creating a platform for them to do so. So I've been able to visit over 70 schools, been able to have a lot of conversations with students, trying to impart some wisdom about how do you navigate through this system, how do you advocate for yourself, how do you ensure that you are taking ownership of your educational experience, but also make sure that you're holding people accountable as well. So that's one of the main things. We want to make sure that our students are being prepared to not only enter into the workforce, but enter into higher education, enter into the trade. So again, one of the other parts you're talking about is some of the programming that I would want to add. I think there's a great program called the 10 Boys Initiative that focuses on the self-identity piece and redefining what cool. So you could be cool and be the smart kid. You could be the academic star and also the athletic star. So sort of shattering those narratives as if you have to be one or the other. So the 10 Boys Initiative is doing great work with working with 10 boys, predominantly Black and brown boys, who we still see a lot of opportunity and achievement gaps between Black and brown boys and some of their white and Asian counterparts. We want to make sure we're closing that opportunity gap by creating access and dealing with some of those social and emotional issues outside of the classroom. I think expanding the advanced work class program. I was a part of the advanced work class program, and that is the BPS's pipeline to exam schools. And oftentimes when you graduate from an exam schools, your not only your opportunities to go to higher ed, but your opportunities for career development are vastly improved as opposed to some of our other high schools. So how do we increase that access of advanced work class more citywide? If you live in Roxbury right now, there's no advanced work classrooms for students in grades 4 through 5. So if you test into the advanced work class, you have to then go to a school outside of your neighborhood. So who knows what that impact is on parents actually choosing to send their kids to advanced work class versus them maintaining and staying in the schools that they're in. Again, I think about Madison Park, our vocational tech high school. What are we doing to support that school? The fact that we don't have a VOTech program that can serve as the pipeline to all of our city services is something that we need to look at. When I say that, I'm saying how do we expand the cadet program for BPD and the fire department? But also, how do we build a co-op model for our city services? So whether it be parks and recreation, whether it be Boston Water and Sewer, whether it be Boston Center for Youth and Family, we need to find a way where we're building this pipeline for civil service and our city agencies through our VOTech high school. Madison Park should be the feeder for our next generation of teachers. BPS should be partnering and building this pool of new teachers directly from Madison Park. That right there can address our diversity issues, but then it also is going to give our teachers some more context to deal with the classroom. I think we need to do a better job at trying to attract more alums of BPS to get back into the BPS system, whether it be an admin or whether it be actually be in the classroom. And I think building that VOTech feeder system in Madison Park would do wonders in actually achieving that. So again, expansion of the advanced work class program, strengthening the cadet program to be also for fire department, but also for our police department, and having that be expanded within Madison Park. Doing a co-op internship model with our city services, so our juniors and seniors can see some of the possible industries that they can get into upon leaving high school. Strengthening our partnerships with our local colleges and universities. It's actually a shame that we live in the city of Boston, which is a college town, yet many of our high school students are leaving high school unprepared to enter into those colleges and universities. That is a shame, and that's a feeling on us. That's not just on BPS. That's a feeling on us as a city. That shows that we're not valuing the BPS experience, and we need to do a better job at that. And we do so by actually building stronger partnerships with our local colleges and universities. I found that they've been willing. It's about having on our end actually making the ask and saying this is exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for having more of your students coming into our elementary and middle schools to do some tutoring. We're making sure that our students feel like those campuses are open to them, so they can even, as juniors and seniors, begin to take classes at Wentworth if they're interested in engineering, be able to take classes at Northeastern if they're interested in studying history, so they can start taking these classes and seeing what the college experience is like before they actually get to that place. One of the most important things about being a high school senior or being a high school student is to see yourself on a college campus. If you can see yourself at that college campus, you begin to take your academic career more seriously. I know that's what happened to me. I was able to go on a college tour when I was in 9th grade, and that changed my whole perspective on education. Like I said before, I was in the process of about to get kept back at Boston Latin Academy, and I had to make a decision on what I was going to do academically. So I had to go to a different school, but in that process, I went on a college tour, and I went to Temple University, I went to Hampton University, and I saw students who looked just like me walking on a college campus, and that's when I knew that it was a possibility for me. So we have to do a better job in showing that we're expanding our students' narrative and expanding their worldview. Again, if we're talking about how much more funding that we need for our schools, I think first thing we got to do is figure out, we have to do a real audit of the entire BPS system to find out where the money is going and Are there any redundancies in the process? Are there ways that we can do things differently before we start throwing more money at it? Because one thing we don't want to do is throw more money at a system that may already be dealing with issues. So let's figure out the way in which the school system is working, how the money is being spent. You could do so by having a full audit. And I also think our individual schools need more autonomy over the budget because they know what the needs are. Oftentimes, I have conversations with teachers, and they have to come out of their own pockets to provide supplies for students. I can think of a elementary school teacher who's at the Mason, and every year she goes to Staples and she buys notebooks, she buys pencils, she buys pens, she buys the basic essentials for a classroom. She has to pay for those out of her own pocket because her school doesn't have the funding to do so. So I think we need to give our local schools more autonomy around the budget, and make sure that we are being innovative around the way our budget dollars are being allocated. But I think the larger conversation is that there is a lot of great work going on within our school system. I see BPS graduates every day. They're going on to colleges and universities. They're doing great work. Our teachers are working immensely hard, trying to educate our next generation of leaders. And I think the question now becomes, as a city councilor, as a city, how do we do a better job at supporting those students and those teachers in the classroom environment? And that's really what it comes down to. And I think we do so by advocating and leveraging our positions to bring resources and bring essential needs that aren't being met right now, and addressing those essential needs by leveraging our position and leveraging our perspective. I'm a former Boston Public School student, so I know how important it is to have access to quality education. I know how it can change your life. It can change your quality of life. My parents were teenagers when they had me. They weren't able to finish college, and they weren't able to attend college. And having access to advanced world class, having access to exam schools, having access to some of our better high school is what allowed me to sit here in this seat today. It was what allowed me to go on to Temple University. It allowed me to go to Boston University and get my master's. It is what gave me the foundation to work on my doctorate right now at Northeastern. And you think about the city of Boston, we ranked #1 for income inequality in the nation. And a lot of that has to do with education. So we're ranked number one in the nation for income inequality. And the question is, how has our system of education sort of helped facilitate that gap? And are we giving our students the skills and creating the platforms for our BPS students to be able to earn the wages that they can withstand rising rents or rising property taxes? Are we giving them the skills so they can enter into the medical field and the tech field and the educational field that Boston is known for? And unfortunately, the answer to that question is no. As a city, we become so dependent on transplants coming into college, transplants coming into our city to work these jobs, that we haven't invested in our students. So we become real good at investing in development, and we haven't done a great job in investing in individuals and investing in people. And that's what I want to bring to City Hall, because I'm someone who benefited directly by being fully invested in having summer jobs, having a fully funded school system, having access to programs at colleges and universities. So I benefited directly from those having a city that fully funded and fully invested in our young people. And that's what I want to bring back to City Hall, as being a tangible example of what can happen when we fully invest in our students and create platforms for them to lead and for them to succeed.
All right, thank you for your time. This is
Thank you.
Rufus J. Faulk, who is running for Boston City Council District 7.
Thank you very much.